US economy right now is like a Jenga tower with 18 fucking pieces missing. We are one piece pulled out away from everything just toppling.
America's job market is collapsing, and the numbers prove it. Millions of jobs have vanished, with unemployment climbing above 6% nationwide before 2026. Families are watching $200 rents, $5 gas, and $350 grocery bills collide with pink slips that pay just $500 a week in unemployment. From California to Texas, entire communities are unraveling as factories shutter, offices empty, and savings vanish overnight. This isn't a slowdown, it's an economic earthquake. Here are the 10 US states where layoffs are exploding, wallets are bleeding, and the American dream is being ripped apart. By the way, just hitting subscribe actually goes a long way for us. If you're into this, I appreciate it. Anyway, back to it. Number 10, Oregon. Oregon has long been marketed as a dream. Green forests, rivers cutting through mountains, Portland's coffee culture, and the promise of that Pacific Northwest lifestyle. But in 2025, the dream feels more like a nightmare. Oregon is in the middle of a serious job crisis, with unemployment pushing nearly 6%. This means over 150,000 people are without work. That's not just a statistic. It's families wondering how they'll cover $1,800 in Portland rent when unemployment checks barely hit $550 a week before taxes. The layoffs are spreading everywhere. Manufacturing hubs like Salem are watching plants shut down. Tech startups in Portland, once flushed with venture capital, are laying off entire teams, even tourism, worth $13 billion a year. But the crisis isn't just jobs. Housing is a full-blown mess. Portland home prices average $500,000, while interest rates over 7% mean a monthly mortgage of nearly $3,400. Grocery bills are higher too. Residents joke that shopping at Whole Foods feels like taking out a second mortgage. Add in rising crime in Portland and skyrocketing homelessness, and suddenly, the quirky lifestyle Oregon sells starts to feel unsafe and unaffordable. The result? People are packing up. Net migration has slowed sharply, with thousands leaving for cheaper, job-rich states like Idaho or Texas. Michigan, the state that once symbolized America's industrial strength, is again on shaky ground in 2025 and 2026. The auto industry, Detroit's beating heart, is facing brutal restructuring. Layoffs at Ford, GM, and Stellantis plants have already cut thousands of jobs, with automation replacing shifts that once paid $30 an hour. Electric vehicles, once hyped as the state's savior, now feel like a double-edged sword. Sure, EV demand is there, but production is leaner, requiring fewer workers. The result? Michigan's unemployment rate has climbed past 5.5%, leaving roughly 250,000 residents without work. But jobs aren't the only problem. Michigan households are struggling under inflation's weight. In Detroit, the median household income is just $38,000, while average rents have crossed $200 a month. Property taxes in cities like Flint are among the highest in the nation relative to home values, meaning struggling families are literally taxed into leaving. And speaking of leaving, Michigan has seen a population decline of nearly 40,000 people in just 2 years. Young workers are fleeing for Sunbelt states with cheaper living costs and more opportunities. Infrastructure adds another layer of pain. Roads are crumbling. Michigan spends over $4 billion annually on repairs, yet potholes remain infamous. Schools are underfunded, and water crises like the Flint disaster still cast a long shadow. Meanwhile, crime in Detroit remains stubbornly high, pushing middle-class families to the suburbs or out of state entirely. The shocking truth, Michigan feels stuck in a cycle of decline. While car companies chase profits overseas, the communities that built America's vehicles are left behind. A family in Grand Rapids making $45,000 a year is crushed by $600 car payments, $300 utility bills, and rising grocery costs. Add layoffs into the mix, and you get neighborhoods with boarded-up homes, closed factories, and despair that no new EV factory ribbon cutting can fix. Michigan isn't just battling job losses, it's fighting to keep its identity alive in 2025. Number 8, Nevada. Nevada sells itself as a land of bright lights, low taxes, and endless opportunity. But peel back the glitzy Las Vegas Strip, and you'll find a state wobbling under serious economic stress. By 2025, Nevada's unemployment rate has surged close to 6%. With more than 90,000 workers sidelined, tourism, which makes up nearly 30% of Nevada's economy, is faltering. Casino giants have cut staff as international tourism drops and Americans tighten wallets. Imagine losing a $50,000 a year hospitality job and realizing unemployment checks barely cover your $2,600 Las Vegas rent. The housing market, once booming from California migrants, is cracking. Home prices in Vegas average around $430,000. And with 7% mortgage rates, that's a $3,000 monthly payment, far beyond reach for workers juggling layoffs and wage cuts. Nevada's no income tax perk is little comfort when property taxes and HOA fees eat up what little savings residents have left. Insurance premiums have also skyrocketed, with homeowners now paying an average of $2,500 a year for policies that barely cover wildfire risks. Outside Vegas, things look grimmer. Rural Nevada towns dependent on mining and small industries are shrinking. Young people are leaving, chasing jobs in Texas or Arizona, while locals face food insecurity. Gas prices near $5 a gallon make long commutes unbearable. And with public transit almost non-existent, workers can't afford to live far from their jobs. Meanwhile, crime in Vegas is climbing as desperation grows. Behind the neon signs are struggling families maxing out credit cards to survive, retirees watching 401ks dwindle, and businesses bracing for more closures. The mirage is fading, and what's left is a desert of economic pain. Number 7, Washington, D.C. The nation's capital isn't immune to collapse. In fact, it's leading the way in job losses. Washington, D.C. currently has the highest unemployment rate in America at 5.9%, translating to nearly 25,000 residents actively job hunting. And this isn't just private sector turbulence. Federal job cuts are hammering the region. Over 15,000 federal positions have been axed in 2025, with contractors and support staff also wiped out. Imagine working at a government agency for 20 years only to get a notice that your position is no longer essential. That's the reality for thousands of DC workers. But beyond the job crisis, DC has become brutally expensive. The median rent for a one-bedroom is $2,300, while the median household income hovers around $95,000. Sounds comfortable? Not really. After taxes, healthcare premiums, and $400 monthly grocery bills, even middle-class families feel squeezed. Add in one of the highest childcare costs in the nation, nearly $2,000 a month per child, and DC becomes nearly impossible for working families. Crime and safety are worsening too. Restaurants that survive COVID are finally shutting down as federal workers stay remote and tourist numbers lag. The shocker? Washington, D.C., the very symbol of American power, is buckling under layoffs, high costs, and social decline. The White House may shine for the cameras, but just blocks away, workers line up at job fairs, families stretch every dollar, and once vibrant neighborhoods are fading into shadows. D.C. isn't just struggling, it's unraveling in plain sight. Number 6, Maryland. Maryland has always leaned heavily on its proximity to Washington, D.C., with thousands of residents working in federal agencies, defense contracting, and support services. But in 2025, that advantage has flipped into a nightmare. Federal budget cuts have already eliminated over 15,000 federal jobs, and that's before contractors are factored in. The ripple effect is enormous. From office janitors in Bethesda losing hours to defense engineers in Prince George's County suddenly unemployed after decades of service, Maryland's unemployment rate is climbing past 5%, translating to more than 160,000 people searching for work. What makes it worse is Maryland's cost of living. The median home price in Montgomery County is $540,000, with monthly mortgages soaring above $3,600 at today's 7% interest rates. Rent isn't much better, averaging $1,900 statewide. Imagine being laid off from a $90,000 federal job only to watch unemployment checks barely cover half your mortgage. Families are draining savings at alarming rates, and some are already facing foreclosure. Taxes in Maryland are among the steepest nationwide, with income tax rates climbing past 8.95% in some counties. That means even those who do keep jobs see less disposable income. Meanwhile, grocery costs are up nearly 12% year over year, and gas in Baltimore hovers around $4.20 a gallon. Middle-class families are being squeezed from all sides. Number 5, Virginia. Virginia has long been a powerhouse for federal jobs, defense contractors, and military bases. But in 2025, those very strengths are unraveling. With federal spending cuts, defense-heavy Northern Virginia is feeling the squeeze. Layoffs at major contracting firms have already wiped out thousands of high-paying positions, with warnings of 10,000 more cuts if budgets tighten further. That's devastating in a region where average mortgages exceed $3,500 a month. Statewide, Virginia's unemployment is climbing past 5%, meaning nearly 220,000 workers are sidelined. The pain extends beyond Northern Virginia. Shipyards in Norfolk are cutting staff, hitting blue-collar families who once depended on $70,000 a year skilled trade jobs. Even retail and hospitality in Richmond and Virginia Beach are shrinking as consumers cut back amid inflation. Virginia's cost of living only amplifies the crisis. The median home price sits around $420,000, with rents averaging $1,300. Families earning $60,000 to $70,000 are realizing their paychecks vanish quickly after taxes, groceries, and insurance premiums. Property taxes in Fairfax County often exceed $6,000 a year, while daycare for one child can cost over $1,500 a month. When layoffs hit, it's a financial death sentence. The social impact is just as severe. Even universities are reporting budget shortfalls, raising fears of tuition hikes that will saddle students with even more debt. Virginia's image as a wealthy, stable state is crumbling under the weight of cuts and costs. The shocking truth is that entire regions are dependent on decisions made in Washington, D.C. If the Pentagon trims projects or agencies' budgets, Virginia workers pay the price. Behind the manicured suburbs and historic charm, families are holding on by a thread, and that thread is fraying fast. Number 4, New Jersey. New Jersey, often called the crossroads of America, is living up to its name in the worst way in 2025. Caught at a crossroads between rising costs and shrinking opportunities, the state has been hammered by layoffs in pharmaceuticals, logistics, and finance, leaving its unemployment rate hovering around 5.3%. That's over 240,000 people scrambling for work. Major pharma giants in New Brunswick have trimmed labs, while shipping hubs near Newark have cut dock and warehouse staff as global trade slows. What makes this crisis devastating is New Jersey's notorious cost of living. The median home price is $495,000. While property taxes are the highest in the nation, averaging a jaw-dropping $9,500 per household per year, renters aren't spared either. A one-bedroom in Jersey City easily tops $2,400 a month. For families suddenly laid off, unemployment benefits barely scratch the surface of these crushing bills. Commuting, once a lifeline into New York City, is losing its value. Remote work has reduced demand, and transit systems are raising fares to cover deficits, with NJ Transit tickets climbing another 7% this year. Schools in some towns are shrinking, while urban areas like Newark face higher crime as economic despair deepens. The shocking reality is that New Jersey is becoming unlivable for the middle class. High taxes, endless bills, and disappearing jobs create a pressure cooker where even households earning $100,000 a year feel broke. For a state that once symbolized opportunity, 2025 looks more like an exit ramp, with residents fleeing faster than the state can replace them. Number 3, California. California, the land of Hollywood dreams and Silicon Valley fortunes, is now America's poster child for job chaos in 2025. The median home price statewide is still hovering near $780,000, while a 7% mortgage pushes monthly payments past $5,200. Renting isn't much better. In San Francisco, one-bedroom apartments still average $3,000 a month. Imagine getting laid off from a $120,000 tech job in the Bay Area, only to realize unemployment checks of $450 a week can't even cover groceries. Meanwhile, living costs are suffocating. Gasoline prices are consistently the highest in the country, often topping $5.50 a gallon. Groceries? A simple weekly cart for a family of 4 in Los Angeles is over $350, making every Costco run feel like a luxury. Add in taxes. California's top income tax rate is 13.3%, the highest in the nation, and even employed families feel broke. The fallout is everywhere. Downtown San Francisco has vacancy rates near 30%, with skyscrapers turning into ghost towers. Hollywood has seen productions leave for cheaper states, dragging thousands of support jobs with them. Farms in the Central Valley are cutting back due to water costs and trade struggles, leaving migrant workers stranded without pay. Californians are leaving in droves. In the past 3 years, over 800,000 residents have fled to states like Texas, Arizona, and Nevada. That exodus drains tax revenues, forcing schools, police departments, and public services into budget crisis. Even the California dream lifestyle, beaches, sunshine, opportunity, now comes with a heavy price tag, layoffs, sky-high rent, and a constant struggle to stay afloat. California may still glitter in the movies, but for working families, the Golden State is starting to look more like rust. Number 2, Texas. Texas built its modern reputation on endless growth. Oil rigs pumping billions, booming tech hubs in Austin, and newcomers flocking to Dallas and Houston. But in 2025, the so-called Texas miracle is showing cracks. The state has already reported over 14,000 layoff notices this year, spanning energy, tech, and manufacturing. Unemployment is climbing toward 5.5%, leaving nearly 750,000 Texans jobless. Energy, along the backbone of Texas, is in turmoil. Oil prices are volatile, projects are stalling, and thousands of rig workers in West Texas are losing $80,000 a year jobs. Meanwhile, Austin's tech bubble is bursting. Startups that once attracted billion-dollar valuations are now cutting entire teams, leaving behind expensive office towers with for lease signs. The irony is that Texas marketed itself as the affordable alternative to California, but housing costs here have soared. The median Austin home price is $550,000, with mortgages topping $3,800 a month at 7% interest. Even Dallas and Houston, once affordable, now see average rents above $1,700. For laid-off workers, unemployment checks averaging $550 a week can't touch those bills. The cost of living is catching up fast. Property taxes in Texas are among the highest in the U.S., with many households paying $6,000 to $9,000 annually. Add in rising insurance premiums, over $4,000 a year for some homes due to hurricane and hail risks, and the cheap Texas life starts looking like a myth. Social strains are building too. Crime in major cities like Houston is climbing, and schools are struggling with overcrowding as the state's population still grows despite the economic slowdown. Families who thought Texas was their escape route are now discovering they're just as trapped, only this time under the weight of property taxes, volatile jobs, and crushing bills. Number 1, Florida. Florida sells itself as paradise. No state income tax, sunshine year-round, and booming tourism. But in 2025, paradise is cracking under the weight of job losses, high costs, and a housing market spiraling downward. The state has logged thousands of layoffs this year, especially in hospitality, real estate, and insurance. Unemployment is climbing toward 5.4%, leaving nearly 600,000 Floridians scrambling for work. Tourism worth over $100 billion annually is slowing. Theme parks in Orlando are cutting staff as attendance drops. Hotels in Miami are laying off service workers, and cruise companies are slashing payroll. That ripple hits everywhere from bartenders in Key West to Uber drivers in Tampa. Add in the insurance meltdown, with annual homeowners' premiums skyrocketing past $6,000, and Florida families are being crushed even if they keep their jobs. The housing market is equally brutal. The median home price statewide is $410,000, and with 7% mortgages, families face monthly payments of nearly $2,900. Rents aren't any kinder. In Miami, one-bedrooms average $2,700, while even smaller cities like Tampa push past $1,900. For a family earning Florida's median income of $67,000, those numbers don't add up, and the risks keep piling on. Hurricanes, flooding, and rising insurance costs are driving residents to leave, while new arrivals from the pandemic boom are already regretting their moves. Gasoline in Florida now averages $4.15 a gallon, while grocery bills for a family of 4 hit $320 a week, squeezing paychecks that don't stretch far. Let me know where you are watching from, and we'll do a video about your city too.